It was a quiet afternoon in an upscale restaurant tucked away in the heart of the city. The soft clinking of cutlery and light classical music filled the air. Elegant couples chatted over lunch. Business people glanced at their watches, and the staff moved efficiently between tables. Everything was running smoothly until two little whirlwinds burst through the doors. "Daddy!" they shouted in unison, their small feet thudding against the polished wooden floor as they rushed toward a tall man in a sleek black suit. The entire restaurant froze. All eyes turned toward the scene, including a woman standing nearby who had just ordered her coffee. Her eyes widened, her hand trembling slightly. As she placed her phone down, the man the children had run to, he was none other than Huo Yichen, the cold and reserved CEO of a top tech firm, known for his brilliant mind, ruthless decisions, and complete lack of a personal life. Or so the media said. Huo Yichen stiffened in his seat, his sharp gaze flickering from the children clinging to his legs to the stunned woman a few steps away. The little boy was around 6, with bright eyes and a mischievous smile. His sister, slightly younger, had chubby cheeks and a head full of soft curls. Both were breathless, cheeks flushed with excitement. "Daddy, we missed you so much," the boy cried, holding on tightly to Huo Yichen's leg. "Mommy brought us to eat here today," the little girl chimed in, looking up with pure joy. Huo Yichen didn't speak for a long moment. The restaurant remained in awkward silence. Some guests started whispering. A few took out their phones. A woman from the corner table gasped, recognizing the CEO. "That's him, the one from the business magazines," she whispered. The stunned woman slowly walked toward the children. Her name was Lin Xiaoyue, a young, hard-working single mother and an event planner who rarely had time for lunches like this. She was dressed simply but gracefully, her hair tied in a neat ponytail, and there was a tired strength in her eyes. She looked from the children to the man, then back again. "I'm so sorry," she said quickly, pulling the children away, her cheeks red with embarrassment. "There must be some mistake. Kids, what are you doing?" But the children didn't move. "No, Mommy," the boy insisted. "He's Daddy. He looks just like the photo in your drawer." Lin Xiaoyue's heart skipped a beat. Her face turned pale. The man, Huo Yichen, finally stood up, tall, poised, and icy calm. He gently peeled the children from his legs. "I'm not your father," he said firmly, but his eyes lingered on the boy's face for a second too long. "Kids, let's go," Lin Xiaoyue whispered, more to herself than them. Her voice cracked slightly, but the little girl was now staring at Huo Yichen, her lips trembling. "You're not Daddy?" she asked in a small voice, eyes filling with tears. He paused, a flicker of emotion crossing his face. Just for a moment, then, suddenly, a flashbulb went off. Someone had taken a photo, a blogger perhaps, or just someone too interested in drama. Huo Yichen's assistant, who had been seated quietly nearby, immediately sprang into action, trying to handle the situation. But it was too late. The damage had begun. "Sir, should I make a call to the PR team?" the assistant asked under his breath. Lin Xiaoyue pulled her children closer, flustered. "I really am sorry. I have no idea why they said that." Her voice was barely above a whisper now. "Please don't misunderstand." But Huo Yichen's gaze was now firmly on her. Something had shifted in his expression. No longer cold and impersonal, but curious, conflicted, suspicious even. He looked down at the children again, then back at her. "What's your name?" he asked suddenly. Lin Xiaoyue blinked. "Excuse me, your name," he repeated. Lin Xiaoyue," she said slowly, brows furrowed. Why? Instead of answering, he simply nodded and sat back down, his mind clearly turning. The assistant leaned in again to speak, but Huo Yichen waved him off, eyes never leaving Xiao Yue. The children were quiet now, clinging to her skirt, but the boy, Zhixiang, looked up again. You really don't remember us, Daddy. That was when Lin Xiao Yue felt her legs weaken. The restaurant's eyes were still on them, but in that moment, she could only hear her own heartbeat, hammering loudly in her ears. She turned to go, desperate to remove herself and the children from the public eye. But as she took a step, she heard Huo Yichen say something that stopped her cold. Wait, she turned around slowly. I want to talk to you, he said. Privately, Lin Xiao Yue hesitated. Her mind was spinning. How could this be happening? Her children had never even met their real father. They only knew about him through a photograph, an old one tucked in a drawer that she never meant for them to see. She had told them he was gone far away, that he didn't know they existed. So how had they recognized this man? And why did he look at them like he was trying to remember something? As she stood frozen in the doorway, torn between leaving and confronting a truth she wasn't prepared to face, one thing was clear. Her quiet, carefully protected life had just been turned upside down. Was this really just a coincidence? Or had fate deliberately brought them to this restaurant today? And if Huo Yichen truly wasn't their father, why did those children look so much like him? Before she could take another step, the paparazzi had already begun to gather outside. Lin Xiao Yue sat across from Huo Yichen. In a private lounge the restaurant manager had quietly offered. After sensing the tension, the children had been taken outside by the assistant to distract them with ice cream. But inside, the air was thick with unspoken questions. I don't understand, Xiao Yue said, her voice soft but shaking. Why are we even having this conversation? Huo Yichen stared at her, fingers clasped tightly together. Because I don't believe in coincidences, he said slowly. And because your son, he has my eyes. Xiao Yue looked away, biting her lip. They don't have a father. I raised them alone. I didn't even plan for them. But you said they saw my photo, he pressed, leaning forward slightly. What photo? Her breath caught. She hadn't wanted to bring up the past. Not like this. Not in a restaurant. Not in front of him. Not after all these years. 7 years ago, she finally whispered, I was part of a summer internship at your company. Just for a few weeks. I worked under a different name, Lin Yue. She paused. It was before you were promoted to CEO. His brows furrowed slightly. I met you once. Just once, she continued. You probably don't remember. You came to speak at a group training. We were assigned to do a welcome presentation. He didn't respond. She smiled faintly, sadly. There was a company party. Too much wine. You were celebrating your project launch. Her voice cracked now. I didn't expect anything to happen. And the next morning, you were gone. A long silence followed. Huo Yichen looked like he'd been hit with a wave of cold air. He ran a hand through his hair, clearly trying to recall. He hadn't thought of those early years in a long time. So many faces. So many rushed nights. Why didn't you tell me? He asked, finally. I tried, she said, her voice shaking now. I wrote a letter to the HR office, but I never got a reply. Then I found out I was pregnant. I panicked. I quit the internship, disappeared. I didn't want anything from you. I was just scared. Outside the glass window, he could see the children laughing with his assistant. Something inside him twisted. Guilt, confusion, regret. I never imagined running into you like this, she added. eyes glistening. I worked hard to protect them. I never even told them who you were, but then my son found that old photo in a drawer. I kept it because I thought, maybe one day I'd explain, but they guessed on their own. And today, this wasn't planned. Huo Yichen stood abruptly, walking to the window. He was a man used to control, to logic, to clean contracts and predictable outcomes. But this was chaos, emotion, messy and real. And worst of all, it couldn't be undone. Are they really mine? He asked finally, his voice low. I did a test. Once, she replied, barely audible. It was an old one from a private lab. I couldn't afford more, but yes, I'm certain. He turned, looking at her now, not as a stranger, not as an employee from the past, but as the mother of his children. I can't just pretend this didn't happen, he said. I don't want your money, she said quickly. I never wanted anything from you. I didn't say you did, he replied, calmer now, but I have a right to know them, to know what I missed. Xiao Yue swallowed hard. It's not that simple. They don't know what a father means. They've only had me. I've built our life carefully, slowly. I don't want them confused or hurt. I'm not asking to take them away, he said. But I can't ignore them. Not now. Just then, the assistant gently knocked and opened the door slightly. Sir, he said, hesitating. The media's outside. Someone posted a photo. It's already spreading. Huo Yichen's jaw tightened. Handle it quietly, he said. No statements yet. The assistant nodded and left. Xiao Yue looked panicked. I can't have my children dragged into the news. Please. I'll protect them, he promised. She studied his face. Cold but responsible. Distant, yet not cruel. The kind of man who would follow through once he made a decision. That terrified her more than anything. As the days passed, the situation only grew more complicated. Photos of the restaurant incident had gone viral. Cold CEO secretly has children. One headline read. Another asked, is Huo Yichen hiding a family? Though the identities of the children and Xiao Yue were not revealed, speculation exploded online. Meanwhile, Huo Yichen kept reaching out. He sent books, toys, and snacks through his assistant. He asked to meet the children, carefully, without pressure. Xiao Yue was torn. Her son had started drawing pictures of Daddy every night, while her daughter kept asking if they could see him again. But not everything was as straightforward as it seemed. One day, Xiao Yue got an anonymous message on her old work email. You should be careful. There's more to Huo Yichen's past than you know. Don't trust him blindly. She stared at the message, her hands trembling. What did it mean? Meanwhile, inside his office, Huo Yichen was also digging. Something about the timeline from 7 years ago didn't match. His records from that period were missing, altered. Files about that training program were gone, deleted. And then, in a dusty archive, he found a photo, blurry but enough, a picture of Lin Yue standing in the background, smiling shyly, taken at the exact party he had forgotten. He stared at it for a long time. He had been manipulated that night. Drugged, maybe? The memory was fuzzy. But why? Just as he was about to call his assistant, his office phone rang. Sir, came the assistant's urgent voice. You need to see this. There's someone claiming that those kids aren't yours. And they say they have proof. The screen lit up with a new headline. A shocking twist. DNA results say otherwise. Everything was spiraling. Who had tampered with the records? And if those children truly were his, who was trying so hard to hide the truth? Huo Yichen stood up, fire in his eyes. He wasn't just fighting for his reputation now. He was fighting for 2 children who might be his, and a woman from his past who had somehow become the center of his future. The truth was out there, but someone didn't want it to be found. And time was running out. The air in Huo Yichen's office was heavy with tension. The screen in front of him still showed the headline. A shocking twist, DNA results say otherwise. And below it, an attached file claiming to contain a lab report that disproved his connection to the children. But he knew, deep down, something wasn't right. He had always trusted facts, but now he realized facts could be fake too. He immediately called his assistant, track the source of that report, find out who's behind it, and I want a new test done. Privately, under my supervision. This time, no leaks. Meanwhile, Lin Xiaoyue sat on her bed, staring at her phone. The kids were asleep in the next room, unaware of the online storm brewing outside their peaceful world. She was exhausted, mentally and emotionally. Her biggest fear had come true. The media had sniffed out something scandalous, and someone out there was clearly trying to destroy Huo Yichen, or her, or maybe both. But who? And why? That night, her phone buzzed again. A blocked number. She hesitated, then answered. You should have taken the money when it was offered, said a cold voice on the line. Now you're dragging everyone down. Xiaoyue froze. Who is this? I'm someone who knows that those kids were a mistake, and that Huo Yichen can't afford any weaknesses. The line went dead. Her hands trembled. She realized this wasn't just about paternity. Someone powerful didn't want the truth out. Maybe an investor, a competitor, or someone from Huo Yichen's own circle. The next morning, Huo Yichen showed up at her apartment unannounced. For the first time, he looked genuinely shaken. We're being watched, he said. This isn't just about us anymore. He handed her a folder. Inside were documents from the new lab. Clean, verified, untampered. The DNA results were crystal clear. He was the father of both children. She let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Then who's behind the fake report? She asked. I think it's someone from my board. There's been a silent power struggle for years. They know children mean vulnerability, a distraction, and now they think they can use this against me. He looked at her, his voice softer. But I won't let them win. Not if it means losing my children. Or you. The confession caught her off guard. For all his cold exterior, she saw something in his eyes that made her heart ache. A man who had missed years of fatherhood, and now wanted to make up for it. But before they could figure out their next step, there was a loud knock at the door. A woman in a sleek business suit barged in. Zhao Yueren, a senior executive at Huo Yichen's company. She looked furious. So it's true, she snapped. You're actually claiming them. Huo Yichen stood between her and Xiaoyue. You have no right to come here. I have every right, she said. This company, your image, is tied to your leadership. You think you can just throw that away for some intern you barely knew. This has nothing to do with business, he growled, but Zhao Yueren laughed. Bitterly. You're wrong. Investors are panicking. Stock prices dipped the moment this news hit. And guess who's been promised your seat if you fall out of favor? It clicked. You? He said. She didn't deny it. Xiaoyue felt sick. So you're the one leaking stories, faking reports, protecting the company, Zhao said coolly. Unlike you. Huo Yichen looked at her, then turned to Xiaoyue. She's trying to force me out, but this ends today. He took out his phone, pressed record, and asked, So, you admit you forged the DNA report? Zhao paused, realizing her mistake, but it was too late. You won't get away with this, she hissed. and stormed out. Within hours, Huo Yichen released a personal statement. Calm, honest, and emotional, he confirmed that he was the father, admitted the past, and asked for privacy. He didn't spin it. He didn't hide. He simply told the truth. The internet, surprisingly, rallied around him. Comments poured in. At least he's stepping up. Respect. Those kids are lucky to have a dad who cares now. Don't punish the children for grown-ups' mistakes. With the truth finally public, the fake news died down. Zhao Yueran was suspended. Pending investigation. Investors cooled off when Huo Yichen presented a long-term plan that showed his family wouldn't affect his leadership, but made him stronger, more grounded. As for Xiao Yue, it wasn't an easy adjustment, but slowly, Huo Yichen earned her trust. He didn't rush. He showed up to school events. He learned how to pack lunch boxes. He sat through bedtime stories and early morning cartoons, often confused but always present. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the twins ran into the living room, yelling, "Daddy's home!" Xiao Yue watched from the kitchen. Heart full. She never thought life would turn out like this. What started as an accident had become the most unexpected kind of family. Huo Yichen walked over to her, holding her gaze. "Thank you for not giving up on me," she smiled. "Just don't mess it up again." He laughed, and for the first time in a long while, everything felt right. Sometimes, family doesn't come the way you plan. Sometimes, it crashes into your world in the middle of a restaurant, shouting, "Daddy!" loud enough to change your life, forever. And sometimes, that's exactly what you need to finally understand what really matters.